Before the video starts, huge spoilers ahead. I know this review is very late, but that is because my little sister had a birthday party where I may have participated in consuming health-altering amounts of alcohol. But anyways, you guys already know that these videos get blocked and censored like crazy, mainly for the things that I say, but regardless, go ahead and run this video up, and let's get on with the video. So I want to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the Fantastic Four, or like cosmic things in general. I've said this many times before in past videos, but I just don't enjoy Star Wars type action movies because to me, it's just simply not my thing. Now before I say anything negative, I want to say that I did enjoy this movie. I now, as a non-Marvel comic book reader, see why people were so upset when the Fantastic Four movies were being made by Fox. So as usual, let's start off with things I did like about this movie. First things first, this movie has the best set design I have ever seen in a Marvel movie. It's almost too good. Like, I would never think Marvel made this movie with just how good the set design really is. This is without a doubt the best set design we will probably ever have in a superhero movie, and hopefully these fuck-ass superhero movies start having their own unique aesthetic. I also did like Johnny Storm and Sue Storm. These two are by far the best representations of their comic book characters that we have ever seen and probably will ever see. Here they finally made Johnny a fucking character for once, and they also made Sue Storm a fucking character for once. And it's to the point where I feel like Sue Storm was the main character most of the time. I also feel like Galactus is handled pretty damn well. I don't think any other voice actor could make Galactus more menacing other than Ralph Ensign. But I feel like those are such common things to say about this movie. It's becoming a bit of a cliche to say that the set design is nice and Johnny, Sue, and Galactus are great characters because everyone can agree on that. However, let's start talking about things that were very messy and just didn't land right with me. As much as I love Pedro Pascal in the role of Reed Richards, I can't lie that I'm just seeing too much of this guy. It's getting to the point where I see this guy in literally everything. And that in of it itself isn't a bad thing, but when it comes to seeing Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, I can't deny that I just don't feel like this man is Reed Richards. I mean, his character along with Ben are barely explored in this movie. As much as this movie wants to be about family, the biggest miss this movie had was jumping the origin story and just going straight into shit. Now don't get me wrong, these group of individuals are great together, they have great chemistry, but in not exploring the origin story of these four characters, we really miss out on these characters coming together as a family. This movie starts with little flashbacks to their past lives, and we're just supposed to feel like these people are a family, even though we haven't seen them come together. I heard a few people compare this movie to Guardians of the Galaxy, and I really don't think that's a fair comparison. In Guardians of the Galaxy, we see these individuals all with different agendas and from literally different worlds start gunning for each other's throats, and then throughout the movie we start to see them come together as a family. And in this movie, skipping the origin story, we really don't get to see why these characters even came together in the first place. I mean, Reed literally says that the three smartest people in the world just happen to be his friends, but we never get to see any of that play out. And I know this is going to trigger a lot of people, but that's what I liked about the other Fantastic Four movies, even the really bad ones. They didn't skip the origin story. For a movie like Superman to skip the origin story, that makes sense because there have been so many Superman movies, Superman TV shows, Superman games, Superman cameos. Superman's origin story is ingrained in pop culture, but I don't feel like the Fantastic Four is. Now let's talk about The Thing. As much as I like Ebon Moss and other properties like The Punisher and The Bear, here I really thought they would have focused on him more, but they didn't. And I've seen Ebon Moss act his pussy off, he's so fucking funny. But here they didn't even bother to give him any character development. Literally the only bit of character lore that we get is that he misses his old body, which isn't anything new because that's been his whole character in literally every Fantastic Four movie. I also do like that Eben Moss is like the only character that's doing anything different with his voice. And here's where the biggest turnoff for the movie makes itself present in creating this beautiful universe. The biggest turnoff of this movie is that we see literally every civilian have a unique hairstyle, have a unique set of clothes, but then we cut to the Fantastic Four and they all speak English with the most boring American accent I've ever heard. And I know that sounds harsh, but whenever I see this wonderful universe, the whole vibe and energy of this film is extremely diminished whenever the four main characters have such generic American accents and Johnny having such a basic haircut. And I hate to be the type of person to shit on a movie that everyone loves, and believe me, I did like this movie. But unfortunately, there's a lot more things that didn't work for me. So let's talk about Reed Richards because I kind of skipped over him. Here, Reed is like the most cliche smart guy I've ever seen. People keep saying, yeah, well, Pedro Pascal can act. And like, yeah, I know that. But here, Reed does the most cliche smart character things that you'll ever see in a movie. Like, he keeps running so many tests on Sue Storm. And like, I get what this movie's going for, but it just never stops. He keeps doing so many tests on Sue Storm to the point that if the baby does turn out evil, Reed probably had something to do with it. And apart from that, all Reed ever does is like write a bunch of scientific equations on a chalkboard, or he does his scientific experiments. Like, it's nice, but I mean, I would like to know more about this character. And that can be said for every character of the Fantastic Four. Like, Johnny and Sue Storm are great, but again, I don't really know these people because we skipped the part where we get to know about them. The last two characters I have left to shit on are Galactus and Silver Woman. And believe me, I'll talk about Franklin here in a little bit. So now let's talk about Silver Woman. Now, I know I praise this movie for looking incredible, but this movie flops back and forth from being the most beautiful superhero movie you'll ever see to being the ugliest film with the worst CGI I've ever seen. I hate to say it, but I'm not a huge Silver Surfer fan, and I also don't like her CGI half the time. It looks like shit. This is also the only character that the film actually gives a backstory to, but it's only one scene, and that's it. And again, it's just the same shit from the other movies. Like, I get why Silver Surfer gave up her life to serve Galactus in order to spare her world, which is fine, but whenever she gives her life at the end of the film and pushes Galactus into the little void, it doesn't feel fulfilling because we don't really know this person. And don't even get me started on the plan to take down Galactus. The entire plan was a rat trap for Galactus. And when he's about to step on it and he doesn't, it honestly pisses me off that they would even think that this would work. The plan of the smartest people on the planet was just to use the old stick and cheese trap on a guy who's older than the universe. However, I do like that the entire planet has complete trust in the Fantastic Four. Galactus is really fucking good in this film. I was fully on board with this guy. However, I was fully on board until the entire plot revolved around Galactus wanting the baby. I almost can't say that without laughing. It also doesn't feel right whenever we don't understand why Galactus wants the baby. Like, I get it serves the movie, but it just doesn't serve this character's motives. Like, all the baby does is bring people back, and he says that he wants to pass off his curse off to the baby. Why? This is by far the best representation of Galactus that we have seen, but it really distills his character when his motivations just make no sense. Actually, I lied. There's one more character that I need to shit on real quick, and that is Franklin. See, Franklin for some reason has this like dark cosmic energy inside him, and he can somehow bring people back to life like how we saw with Sue. Then the movie also decides to end up showcasing Doctor Doom, which is fine, but if you stop to think about it, Franklin being able to bring people back kind of removes any tension from every future Marvel movie that he's a part of. It was a cool twist for the end of this movie, But if this character is able to do that, then there's going to be huge plot holes in the upcoming movies. And don't even get me started on the baby CGI. It looks so fucking bad to the point that it started giving me nightmares from the Twilight Renesmee scenes. And this goes back to the thing I was talking about earlier. We have such a beautiful world, but then it takes us out of the movie when we see this awful CGI. The pacing is also really bad. I already talked about how skipping the origin story was a bad idea, but the last third of this movie goes by so quick. There was clearly another plotline that was supposed to be present here. From the minute the Fantastic Four get back to Earth from almost dying to Galactus, the movie just decides to start speeding through things. And here's something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, and that is John Malkovich not being in the movie. He's in the trailers, but he's not in the movie. What the fuck? There was clearly supposed to be another plotline present in the last third of this movie. Like, it feels like 20 minutes of the last bit of the movie was just cut out. And I think the biggest obstacle this movie had to overcome was being released after Superman. Superman being such a great movie makes any superhero movies released this year look like complete dog shit in comparison. This movie also experienced a significant box office drop in the second week of this movie's release, which doesn't really surprise me because I haven't seen too many people lose their minds over this movie. It really is just like a good movie that kind of lost its hype the closer it got to release date. I still think this movie will turn a profit, but you would think that the good Marvel movies released this year would explode at the box office, but they're not. If I had to give this movie a rating, I would probably give it like a 7.5. And I know that's not a number a lot of people want to hear, but this really is a movie that's really just gonna work for a lot of people, but not one that people are going crazy about. I think this film finally restored any negative perception that the past Fantastic Four movies had in the past, but this movie still suffers from a lot of Marvel shit that's present in all of their movies. I think this movie could have gone a lot more weird with the story, but the weirdest part of this movie's narrative is that Galactus is tracking down an unborn baby to hand off his cosmic hunger, and that just didn't land with me. Not exactly the type of weirdness I expected in the Fantastic Four movie, but I would take this over everything Fox gave us these last 2 decades. And when I left the theater after watching this movie, I really didn't see what all the hype was about. I didn't feel like I watched a great movie, just another Marvel movie. I know a lot of people are going to attack me in the comments, but the numbers don't lie. I even asked my family earlier today what they thought about this movie, and they were like, oh yeah, I forgot that we even watched it. This movie suffered a lot of production issues to cutting out an entire character, and the final product clearly shows every bit of that. But anyways, that about does it for this video. See you.
Gotta say, it's fantastic.